What's the most awkward moment you've ever had with a stranger? Without thinking, I once tried to shake an amputee's hand. He stuck out his arm in an unoffended way to show that he was unable to shake my hand. And to diffuse the situation with only minimal amounts of awkwardness, I, for some reason, took this as a gesture to shake his handless arm. It was cut off at just above the elbow, so I had to really reach for it, which resulted in uneasy laughs and goodbyes. I was riding my motorcycle a month ago when the light ahead of me turned red, so I slowed down and stopped behind the car that was also waiting at the red light. A guy in sweatpants jogs out between me and the car, and for some reason, a TV remote flies out of his pocket and smashes like it was made of glass all over the street. The sheer randomness of a guy having a TV remote in his pocket made me burst out laughing. And the guy was staring at the shards of remote in the street like he didn't know how it got in his pocket. I'm laughing so hard that I ease of my clutch a bit and scare myself by moving forward an inch, causing me to stall my motorcycle out. I can't stop laughing, and now my motorcycle engine isn't covering the sound. So the guy slowly looks up from the shattered remote and stares directly at me with this pained look on his face. He does this until I stop laughing, fired my bike back up, and drove around him and down the street. I was taking a shit in a stall while in a local Walmart. Anyways, a little boy had to use the restroom and he started pulling on the door and said, "Daddy, the door's stuck." And I said, "Somebody's in here." The little kid kept pulling on the door. I have to GOPOOOOO. Started screaming at me to get out, then tried to crawl under the stall. I had to put my foot on the top of his head to stop him from getting in. Oh god, why? I was riding the train one day, and it lurched to a stop and an Asian woman grabbed my boobs to steady herself. That was awkward. I have a minor social phobia. I was on the bus the other day, and I decided that I want to live my life. God damn it. I wanted to just start a conversation with a stranger, and I didn't know how. This woman and I were the only two people on the bus. I looked at her and said, "Isn't it funny how we're so afraid to just begin a conversation with another human being?" She just stared at me. So to answer my own question, yes, it is funny. In a very tragic way. You tried, man. You tried. After taking a very stressful French exam during college, I went to the bathroom. All the stress from my life just kind of hit me at once, and I started bawling. Several minutes into my nervous breakdown, some dude walks in to find me sitting in the corner near a sink just sobbing. He was so uncomfortable, and I could tell. It was so ridiculous that I started laughing uncontrollably like a crazy. The dude just turned around and left. Ended up going to a gas station and filled up my car while this older guy was there doing the same. We both drove off and ended up at a Starbucks about 2 miles away. We then both ended up at the gym and ran a few treadmills apart. We both knew it was awkward. I was at a wedding reception at a golf course once and thought the entire patio was filled with wedding guests. Drunk and hungry, I also thought all the food at the tables were wedding appetizers. Turns out there were regular country club members on the patio as well. Feeling social, I sat at one of the tables, started eating part of their shrimp cocktail appetizer and chatting them up. Unfortunately, they weren't part of the wedding, and I was stealing their food. I probably sat there for 10 minutes until I came to the horrible realization of what was happening. Freshman in college, I'm a guy. During the first week of classes, I was taking the campus bus as it went down this horribly bumpy hill. Having grown up in the suburbs, I wasn't used to standing on the bus, so I lost my balance and fell into the lap of this guy over and over again, apologizing profusely all the while. I was taking a shit at the office when someone walks in and tries the stall door, which was locked obviously. The guy proceeds to look over the stall door tool, and we lock eye contact before he says, "Oh sorry," and I say, "Yo, what the duck?" Well, it was with a bunch of strangers really. I was at the airport taking a red eye overseas. I arrive at the international gate. It's deserted because it's 2 AM. so I decided to take some sleeping pills. Wait a few minutes, get drowsy, and figure I should take a pre-flight dump. Trot over to the bathrooms, which are completely empty at this hour. Pick a stall and start taking a massive shit. 2 minutes later I hear clack clack of someone coming into the bathroom. All I can think is damn, this guy has some loud shoes. 30 seconds later the bathroom fills up. A flight had just deplaned and this was the post-flight bathroom crowd. All I can think is all these guys have really loud shoes. Well, still taking my dump, I peek under the stall and suddenly my heart drops like it has never ducking dropped in its life. You know what shoes are loud on tiles? Heels. That moment I realized I, a grown man, am taking a giant smelly shit in a women's restroom. And then it hits me. I didn't see any urinals walking in. And this weird trash bin next to the toilet, it's filled with ducking tampons. Freaking out, I do the only thing I can think of. I freeze. Pull my feet really close to the toilet and try to cover up my shoes so hopefully no one can tell a man is in there. I sit there for 15 minutes, listening to women come in and out, using the bathroom 1 foot from me and chit-chatting on the other side of the door. I've never sweat so much in my life and been so terrified I'm about to become an accidental creep. Finally, the waiting pays off. I can tell the bathroom is empty for a split second. No time to wipe. I pull my pants up and bolt out of there. As I run out, in that moment, there's a guy clearly looking for the bathrooms right outside, but can't find them. He sees me running out and decides this must be the men's restroom and goes in. 5 seconds later, as I duck into the men's restroom to finish my business, I take a quick look over my shoulder and see him coming back out with a terrified "what the duck" look staring at me. Saw my friends Meg and Brandon walking down the street toward me. I was excited to see them, so I ran toward them and yelled, "What's up, ducks?" It wasn't them. I was once in one of those human-sized mazes. It was a pretty big one, and I was probably 25 minutes into it when I started to have the urge to pee. I snuffed it off and just thought I would go when I go out. Fast forward another 20 minutes, and I had to pee so incredibly bad. I was frantically power walking my way through this maze to find the exit. I was interrogating strangers on how to get out, but I was getting nowhere. I now find myself running through the maze, trampling over children as I quickly round blind corners, being a complete asshole. Finally, a part of the maze I haven't been to yet. I thought this must be it. I'm home free. Mother duck, I'm dead end. I froze. I stood there, alone, scared, and helpless. I had to urinate so bad I literally could not move a muscle. I tried to take a slow step forward, and it was let loose like a gushing fire hydrant. I was so defeated during the moment that I didn't even think about pulling my pants down and just going all over the wall. Pee had won. It got what it wanted. There I was having to accept all this, like I had just lost my dog. After I soaked my pants I slowly turned around and started to walk out. I could hear some girls coming around the corner and knew I was in for it. Of course it was some pretty girls that looked at me like I was a freak. And I just said to them, like it was no big deal, "Yup, peed my pants." They didn't say a word to me. It took me another 10 agonizing minutes to find my way out of the maze. Everyone laughing, pointing, making faces at me. It was horrible. I couldn't escape it. Literally. Even when I made it out, one of the employees asked what happened, and I just gave him a cold stare, my face red. What the duck do you think happened? I've told this story before, so if you've already read it, I apologize and hello again. I ordered pizza online from Domino's and tracked it as it was being made. If you haven't ordered online before, it tells you by name who is preparing your pizza, etc. Anyway, it told me Diego was on his way to deliver the pizza. So when the delivery man buzzed, I opened the door and said a very friendly, "Hello Diego. Thanks for delivering my pizza." The man, who happened to be of Latin descent, just stood there and looked at me for a minute, then said, "My name is Luis." I could have tried to explain, but I was really hungry, so I paid the man and ate my pizza. I was walking through the shopping mall in my hometown, looking at some clothes in the windows, I'm just minding my own business and turn around with a bit of arm swinging. Well, my arm swung directly into the balls of a complete stranger. The guy slumped down, moaning in pain. I couldn't even say sorry. I just walked away as innocent looking as I could. I was too embarrassed to say a word. I was getting onto an international flight and the flight attendant asked for my passport. I didn't hear him though, and I just saw him extending his hand out towards me, so I reached out and shook his hand. It was at that moment when I realized what he said to me. He just laughed and tried to save us both from a really awkward moment by saying, "Nice to meet you. Do you have your passport?" I apologized and opened up my bag to look for my passport. I looked behind me and a line of people had started to form, so I tried to hurry. I had a newspaper in my hand, so I tucked it under my arm. As I started opening up all of the pockets in my backpack trying to find my passport, I dropped my newspaper. I went to pick up the newspaper, and as I bent over, the contents of my backpack fell onto the floor. I felt so awkward that I was apologizing to other people for subjecting them to my awkwardness. I found my passport, showed the flight attendant, and proceeded to gather up my things. At the end of the flight though, the flight attendant shook my hand, so I think we are cool. I was expecting spaghetti to start falling out of your pockets as well. A friend of mine works at Starbucks during a particularly busy shift, and lacking a couple of staff members who called in sick, a man was shuffling around impatiently waiting for a drink he ordered several minutes ago that he should have already received. My friend, feeling bad for the waiting man, told him, "I'm sorry your drink is taking so long. Sir, I'm a bit short-handed today." The man lifts his arm, shows to my friend that all he had was a stump, and said, "Me too." I work in a restaurant, and I was going to greet a customer walking in. Right before he came in, my friend Diane was joking around with me, and as he walked in I said very loudly, "I love you," in the tone that you would say, "How are you?" It got dead silent, and he looked at me and just said, "I'm going to sit at the bar." He proceeded to mug me all night. He was lucky to have my love, if only for a moment. When I was 13, I was at the local convenience store with friends in the middle of winter. We all decided to get some frothy kapuks in us to warm our spirits. I decided on the French vanilla, while my other friend went for an English toffee. We paid while our other friends were perusing other items, and started walking towards the door, with me walking in front. As I approached the door, I took the cap off my frothy beverage, smelled it, and turned back to my friend with my eyes closed while giving an over-the-top and obnoxious mmm sound. When I opened my eyes, I realized it wasn't my friend, but an extremely unimpressed middle-aged woman with glasses. We stared at each other for at least 5 seconds, me rooted to the spot in shock, and her judging me. She then moved past me and left. It turns out my one friend doubled back to go talk to the other friends perusing other things, and the middle-aged woman had purchased her things right after mine. My friends saw it all and were dying of laughter. I farted while I was in line for Black Friday. Sounds normal, but this was not just a fart. It was the most putrid fart I have ever laid. The lady behind me then yells, "Holy duck. Did you fart? Holy duck, that smells terrible." So awkward. You should have answered with another fart while staring directly into her eyes. Assert dominance. I was out at a Walmart picking up a few things back when I was in high school, and I ran into a girl I had just started dating a week prior. I was actually about to go over to her house for the first time. She ran up behind me and did a kind of groping hug on me, which had surprised me at the time because, well, I wasn't expecting. She told me she was just about to be leaving after grabbing a few last-minute things, so I told her I would see her at her house. Well, I was walking around the store and I saw her again in the soda aisle in the back, so I figured, hey, I'd do what she did to me. I went up behind her, gave her a hug, and groped her all in one motion. It wasn't her, it was her mom. A friend and I were at a restaurant once. My friend didn't know where the bathroom was, so I decided to show him. As I left, I decided it would be brilliant to jump out and scare him as he exited the bathroom. When I heard the door open, I knew the time was right. I sprung out from the staircase where I was perched and yelled right at the waiter, who was exiting from another door with food. Consider subscribing if you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more of Reddit Universe,